Now then, a real brief video here. Obviously you've seen the last video of the firing where we did some pots, bisque fired. Now then, this is a mug that I fired in the first test of that gas kiln, and there's various things that are apparent. A little bit of something there, a little rise, maybe it's a bit of dust or a bit of clay or something like that, so that's something to be aware of. And just there's a different coloured clay. Obviously it came off my finger, so there are two things to be aware of there. Yeah, and this is another one, and there's a little pokey bit there under the glaze. So before I glaze stuff, just got to make sure that the surface is as smooth as it can be. I mean, we're talking about a handmade surface here, so it's not perfect, but just here I'm not sure if I can. Just there you might be able to see a couple of dark marks, and that is tea staining in a slight recess in the clay. So loads of things going on. Absolutely, you know, once you've got it in a greenware, it's not the end of the game. So there's no end to this stuff. So what have we got here? We have a no expectations mug, and I've been round it. This is a bit of 120 grit. Now normally I wouldn't be doing this when we've got glazy stuff around, but this is an encompassing video. So I've actually been round this just with a bit of 120 and just gone around it and tried to remove any sharp bits. Yeah, which I should have done before I even thought about the lettering. Okay, just, and then of course inside we've already slipped it, and I put the slip on when it was greenware, so that's even more tricky. Yeah, because if I start sanding that, it will sand through the slip and reveal the terracotta underneath. But I can just sand around the lip there and just feel everything to see if there's any sharp bits. Like there's a bit there that could do with just smoothing out. It just goes to show this whole thing about pottery, it's so expansive, and I think the secret is not to think you can get to the end of it, but just follow the fascination. Yeah. So here's another. Now this was that is white slip. So that was put on when it was green, unfired, and then since the firing, I've added this blue. Yeah, and I can go round the lip because it's not white slipped inside, although it feels quite relatively smooth. There's a little bit there, and there's a little bit there, but I've got to be careful not to affect the decoration. Now interestingly, this one I trimmed it, so I put it on the wheel like that and tap centered it, and then used a trimming tool just to remove that and gently tidy it up, which means that I can glaze that bit. Yeah. And if I use one of those little triangular stilts, I could glaze the whole lot, because, where are we? You do tend to get staining on the unglazed earthenware. Yeah, so that's interesting. Anyway, what we've got here is, there you go, it's a transparent brushing glaze, and if you want to look it up, it's Pottery Crafts P2834G. So it's an earthenware glaze, so it goes between 1020 and 1080. That's the firing range, that's degrees C. So, you know, there's more things. The main thing with this is you've got to give it at least 2 coats. It says 3 coats, but according to Kevin, err on the side of caution. So this one here has got 2 coats on it, and that's fine, isn't it? If you put too much on, it goes slightly milky. Right, so we need 2 coats on this. So this here has got 1 coat on it. This is where the kiln clay, when we got the round kiln, with Thetford slip on it, which is why there's that line there. Okay, so make sure it's well mixed. I've removed any sharp bits, then blow it out. Yeah, or even use a brush. Get rid of any bits that's hanging on inside. Okay, this is just stuff I've learnt through sort of watching videos and trial and error. Now, brushing glaze has got extra additives in it to make it stick, like gum arabic and stuff like that, which I think is the gum from acacia trees, but I might be wrong. Maybe it's all synthetic nowadays. So, yeah. And you might think, well, that's quite a faff. You've got to coat it as evenly as possible without applying too much pressure, because this blue is an underglaze and it hasn't been fired yet, so you don't want to be smearing it. Okay, or you can use what's called a dipping glaze. Okay. Well, I've only used the dipping glaze once or twice, and I found it a bit like, it didn't seem to have any control. You just dip it in there, yeah, for a guess like 2 seconds, yeah, and then take it out and it dries very quickly. And one of the things I did at the college, the mask, it came out like there was too much, it was too thick, so it came out sort of milky in certain areas. So it's a bit like, it's one of those muscle memory things. You've really got to practice it. But the other thing about dipping glaze, obviously, is the fact of volume. Yeah, you've got to have a tub big enough to be able to dip this mug into it, into the glaze. And so therefore you would want at least 5 litres of it. And you can buy it in powder form and mix it yourself, or you can buy it ready mixed. And I'm not at this moment ready for that stage. Yeah, no doubt it will come. I mean, I've got 18 pots here, so I'll probably end up spending all day glazing these. Whereas if I was just dipping them, it would take a lot less time. Anyway, there's the conundrum. And I was just wanting to put my ideas down on video just to let you know that there's all sorts of little finesse things that you've got to be aware of. Yeah, and it goes on forever. Anyway, comments please. Like to hear your comments, and if anybody's got any different experiences, that would be amazing, because I'm just learning and I'm just getting on with it. I've found that you can do a bit of research and you can ask people, but in the end you've just got to knuckle down and get on with it, and that's the quickest way to learn. You know, we've all got these different learning styles, reflectors and activists and all those sorts of things, but there you go. Anyway, hopefully you've found this interesting and maybe even slightly helpful, and I will catch up with you very soon. Cheers for now. Oh, and no expectations.